And the recording is just started. So welcome everyone to December's show and tell for digital planning improvement. It's the last one of the year and we've got a fabulous lineup for you today. So show our speakers some love and you can react using your emojis if you want to. Also, you can ask questions along the way. You can pop it in the chat and we'll come to those questions as and when we can. First of all, welcome to the last one. Thanks for all your hard work this year. Just a quick recap or agenda first. So we've got Tim and Phil from Plymouth City Council here today. We've also got John from South Staffordshire. A quick update from our providers team and a couple of other people within ODP. And then a little bit on what's happening next, and also always opportunities to ask questions. Like I said, you can ask along the way or at the end, wherever you feel comfortable to do so. A reminder of who the team are here with you along the journey. We show these slides every time, but obviously it's just a reminder, and if you've got new people joining, you can share these slides with them as well. And a reminder of why we're here and what we do at Show and Tells. These are just as a reminder, as you all know this by now. So let's kick off with our local planning authority of Plymouth City Council. Phil and Tim, are you here? The first question.
One of us is here anyway.
Oh,
Tim
great.
is here.
Good
Tim is good. Tim
Brill.
is now going to speak in the third person for some unknown reason. So I've just had a message from Phil. He's got issues with camera and audio, so he may have to restart.
No problem. So I believe you're going to be sharing your screen, Phil.
I will be. Let's get this rock and rolling, shall we?
Yeah, great. Thanks.
I'm hoping this works.
It's working for me. Everyone else, can you see this? Raise your hands. Yeah, thumbs up. Brilliant. Okay, yep, it's working, Tim.
Brilliant. Just as an aside, this is the first time I've used the presentation live aspect of Teams, so I'm also very excited on this one. So, bit of a background. Obviously, we're part of the Digital Planning Improvement Fund, so this is kind of our journey and where we came from and how we came to be where we are. And can I use my arrow keys? No, I can't, but I can go through this one. Awesome. So a bit of a background. We have a small kind of team running across a couple of different teams within the organization. So we've got people from the city planning team, got people from development management, and that's kind of who we are. I might have added in I'm the principal geek into this one just for fun. But as you see, we've got a wide range of experience, wide range of roles, wide range of kind of knowledge, all coming together to really drive this plan and make it what it is. So where we're starting from, we were somewhat digitally mature. We have a digital joint local plan. I say digital, it's digital for small d rather than big D. It's all online, but it's quite static. We also have things like the Plymouth Database, which is our open data portal. And that came about because of a series of events called the Data Play, which was government funded and that ran for a good about 8 years, which was really interesting. We got some good stuff coming out of that one. And also they had me. So we were one of the first local authorities to have a data scientist embedded within a team. Normally you find local scientists, data scientists sitting in a digital team, kind of sitting at the core of things, whereas I'm in with the planning guys and I had to learn all the planning acronyms. There's a lot of them. I'm still learning. However, we were digitally poor because we've got lots of paper records. We've always done things in a certain way. We have people who will still do things in a certain way. We have frustrations with our DM software. We have frustrations with our IT providers. There's just a general lack of standardization across data schemas, data use. These are not kind of just our problems. We recognize that other councils and other APAs and other government bodies have exactly the same kind of problem. So we're all sort of in the same boat. So that's where we're coming from. We then undertook our digital maturity assessment, and unsurprisingly, it came out that we should be looking at digital design, tech, and data and insight. procurement is live for us, but we decided not to look at procurement. Procurement is actually a separate function to planning, and it's already ongoing its own kind of reviews, and it's how it's doing these things. So we decided to leave that one alone and just focus on the things that we could engage with and the things that we could change. Just go to the next slide. So this is kind of a brief overview of our action plan. Really, one strand was all about the data and the insights, training, and just getting that data into kind of line. The second area was, again, understanding what we've got, how could we use our tools better as an interim measure, or are there other things out there? Lots of it was around training, lots of it was around upskilling, as well as the focus on the data sets. Can't forget the data sets. So we've also had an investigation and evaluation project of iDocs, which is our main DM software and our main planning application software. And we're also actively looking at how we're using our GIS layers within our corporate GIS tool. That's a whole different ballgame. And this is the point where I start to bring in Phil. If he's here. Are you here, Phil?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a bit of an IT issue this morning. And I have lost. I had to restart because I lost all my audio and everything.
So we're just talking about
it's just loading for me at the minute.
That's right. So obviously our main action was to deal with our 4 required data sets: conservation areas, Article 4, TPOs, listed buildings. It was an interesting kind of challenge. They were all at different stages, all at different states, and they continue to be in different stages, different states, and all sorts of fun and shenanigans with some of them, including TPOs. But you'll learn about that more later.
TPOs has been fun.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Over to Phil now.
Take over now. Yeah. So our conservation areas was probably the most straightforward one for us because that layer was actually in quite a good state. So essentially, it was just exported out of our corporate GIS, and we've adjusted the schema to fit with the EPIF schema. The one issue was like we didn't have some of the old documents that basically. Sorry, I'm being pestered by those people. We don't have the old documents for that stated what the conservation areas or how they've been designated. So we found some old entries in the London Gazette and published those as supporting documentation. So the endpoint is our data set is live and uploaded, and being allocated an officer to keep it up to date in case of any future changes, which you sometimes think conservation areas are not things that get updated very often, but we have had one designated within the last 3 years. I think it was 3 or 4 years. Our city centre conservation area was introduced in the past few years, so they do get added now and then. Next slide, please, Tim.
So this is an example of where we got our conservation area documentation from. As you can see, yeah. London Gazette, 1977.
I don't know how we found that. Was that an act of Google?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
We literally Googled where we would find conservation areas because we didn't have the data.
And then that's a little photo of Turn Chapel, which is one of our smaller conservation areas. Next slide, please. Article 4 again was fairly straightforward, but some authorities have multiple Article 4 areas. We only have one, and as such, it didn't have a name. which was on a required field. So it was a bit of back and forth between various officers as to what to call it. And in the end, we went for probably the most boring and descriptive name. I think it's just like Plymouth City Centre Article 4 area. And we put that name in, uploaded it, easy. Next slide, please. Listed buildings was not a nightmare, but it was a bit harder because it was such a big layer, and our corporate GIS system is so antiquated that it took quite a few goes to actually export it. I don't know exactly how many records were on that layer, but I think it was in the thousands, and it took multiple file formats and multiple goes to actually export the data out of our corporate system. Also, our data set does not distinguish between the Historic England reference and the our sort of local Plymouth City Council reference. So we essentially have to duplicate a column to that now contains the same reference for the listed building reference and the reference. I solved the issue of exporting by exporting in a different format in the end, and for some reason that worked. I did it in a map info format instead of a shape file, and that worked, and that is now published. Next slide, please. So the TPOs were probably our biggest hurdle, because most of our TPO documentation is in paper format, and our document management system, iDocs, was missing a lot of data. So we had to go pretty much back to the drawing board on our TPOs, and I think we've learned. I think we can use the phrase digital maturity here, in quite a in quite a realistic manner, because it really is pretty old school the way that we go about storing our TPO documentation in hundreds of paper files in different buildings and different filing cabinets. And yeah, as it says there, some were scanned, some were not. So we are trying to work with our natural infrastructure team to gather all these documents into one building, checking the 545 records, and producing a list of issues as we go along. This has been split up into a couple of phases. In the new year, hopefully, we're going to start getting all of this data digitized. The actual spatial side of things was fairly straightforward. It was more the document side of things is where we really hit our digital stumbling block. I say straightforward, but the spatial side of things on our GIS system, the TPOs are the zones and the points are grouped into one layer. So the points aren't actually points; they are somebody who's just drawn a circle. So I had to do a bit of work on that to find anything below a certain area, or anything with the T code in it, because there's a number of different codes, letter codes. So there's like area, wood, and then just like one, I think T, just for individual tree. So I ran a filter on anything that contained the word T and was under a certain size, and then just found the centroid of that. And I think going forward, we will keep those as two separate layers, because it just makes a lot more sense than drawing a singular tree as a very small polygon. But other than that, the spatial side was pretty much straightforward, and that's now uploaded. But there is ongoing work we're doing on the document side of things. Next slide, please, Tim. This is a quote from our natural infrastructure officer on the TPOs. This is like being in a completely dark room and coming across a whale and trying to determine how large it is by touch alone. The more we run our hands along it, the larger the whale becomes, or something like that. I think that sums up the possibly unending tasks of this TPO work that we will see. It's not a that's from our lead natural infrastructure officer. I don't know if that's concerning or
I liken it to the coastline paradox, where the more you make, the more granular you put things, the bigger it becomes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating. Right, next slide.
So this is our sort of our plan going forward. Phase 1, review internal TPO approvals, find historic paper records, collate into date order, creating a definitive list. It says complete by Christmas, but those last 2 points haven't been completed, so unless someone's going to go hell for leather in the next 2 days, I'm not sure. But and then phase 2 of the new year, going to start look at digitizing these documents, publish documents online, and we will then update the URL field within the spatial layers. And this is the status of where we are with our uploads. So as you can see, pretty much everything has been published in some format, at least. So a couple are missing certain things, like the TPOs missing the URLs.
That bit. Nothing's missing. We're all good.
I mean, it does say document URLs to come, so we kind of gave ourselves away there. But other than that, no, everything is uploaded. 9 out of 9 days submitted, and no errors. Nothing needs fixing. So that is the take-home message.
Yeah, pretty much. No, as Phil said, it's been we're trying to work it in an iterative process. So we know that taking our lead from what Bristol did and actually looking at Bristol going, actually, that's kind of a good idea, is as long as we get something up and it's good and we've got the polygons in there, it's far better than just keeping it hidden, safe behind the scenes until it's perfect. I always used to say good is the enemy of perfect. Perfect is the enemy of good. Just get it done. So now those data sets are kind of up there and running, and we just got an ongoing project just to look at those kind of bits. This is the stuff which we're working on behind the scenes. So we're looking at our data audit. So we're understanding what data sets we've got, where are they, what quality are there, what schemas are there, and then trying to bring that all together into one standardized way, basically, including these process documents. We will include like what the process is for updating it, who's in control of it, where can it be found. Simple little things, but it goes a long way to helping our digital maturity across the council. This is a bit that's been focused on mainly by our DM colleagues. They've had a face-to-face audit with IDOCS and the use of Uniform and the planning system, and they're using that one to they're using some of the money to then research into new DM software, which might include PlanX and BOPS. Since then, tender went live 19th of September, and in the new year, we are getting ready for the tender evaluation and interviews. This bit, I'm a little bit less kind of aware of. It's been mainly run by our DM colleagues, but I'm sure we will get involved in the new year. This is my bit now. Data and GIS training. So recognition that data and GIS is an ongoing kind of learning thing. We completed the offered GIS training from you guys, and after doing that one, it was a good little training course, but we need to do something a bit more bespoke for our staff. It goes straight in, the training went in at the QGIS kind of level, and we need to go, this is an Excel spreadsheet, and this is how we use it. This is a row, this is a column. So we need to kind of do everything a little bit more bespoke. So we're touching everything from data management, governance, ethics, standards, schemas, to this is how you save an Excel spreadsheet in the correct format, in the latest format. Because hilariously enough, we've still got people who will save it in the 1997 to 2003 format. Don't know why. So that's going to be happening in the new year. It's really interesting. We've got our own kind of e-learning kind of package being set up, and the idea is it will go through us, the planning stuff first, and then it will probably go corporate wide as a bit of a bonus for those guys. As mentioned, we have our Data Place Plymouth. This is our open data portal. I should have included a link in this one. I didn't. We've got 175 data sets running across 10 organizations. It's recently been updated from a version 1 into a version 2, so it's a lot more stable. It's not ours. It's being run by a social enterprise called Data Place, but he's a real good guy. And funny enough, it was one of the things that came from the Data Play events to get this open data portal. We will be using it a lot more in the future. And again, as it says at the bottom, we're directly linking our data from here to the ODP site. So as you can see there, list of buildings, trees, preservation orders, there's links across. And then the big task to try and get hold of in the future is data flows themselves. So now we've got those data sets uploaded, what's next? And the answer is, how can we take that data straight from the raw things themselves and push it straight out onto planningdata.gov.uk or Open Data Portal? How can we do all of these things in a way that makes sense and it doesn't break? And if I get run over by a bus, will these things still work? Which was always nice to kind of think about. But yeah, that's kind of the next years of work. I say years, it might only be a year, but no. And that's a little bit about our journey and where we've come from. So we're happy to take any questions, but bear in mind, if it's too complex, I might not be able to answer it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing, Tim and Phil. And it's fantastic that you've been able to publish the data sets. Really great approach to, getting the data out there and working on it iteratively. Great way of doing it. Did you speak with anyone from Bristol? So you mentioned that you learned a little bit from their approach.
No, we didn't, but we did look at what they've done in terms of their upload and their documents. We went, actually, that's quite a good idea. We've spoken to other people across. I think we spoke to Peterborough a few times on how they're doing their TPO stuff, but I don't think we spoke to anyone from Bristol. At least I didn't speak to anyone from Bristol.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing. Anyone got any questions? We had some really positive messages, so worth you having a look through those, Tim and Phil. And I see, Phil, you answered one from Mark. But anyone got anything they want to ask? You can raise your hand now, or you can pop it in the chat. Hi, Andrew. How are you doing?
Oh, fine. It's a very simple one. It's very impressive what's been going on. And Tim, I'm just wondering what size of digital team you actually have, and is it spread corporately? How well does it work together? Because I feel certainly in our own authority, we're still very much in silos on lots of things. And we have the battle between, do we talk to IDOCs? Do we talk to, well, preferably not IDOCs, but, or to, is it corporate IT or is it to our web team? And they all seem to be sitting in their own little huts. And I'm just, because obviously to take forward a whole digital agenda like this, how's your council handling this? I suppose, is there more than just you? And is that a vulnerability to taking the digital agenda forward, or is there a broader team?
From the first kind of question of, do we have a broad team? No, we all have beach huts. We have a centralized data and design team who look at our website, but on the whole, we've got local silos. So I will be looking at data from the planning viewpoint, but I'm in planning. There's also others who look at it from a public health point of view. They're in public health. And our IT providers are an arm's length company. They're called Delt. They're completely separate. So they're somewhere over there somewhere. So it's all kind of separate. We have got informal links to each other. So I will talk to other people about data strategies. I will also use our data strategies, our data principles and management to kind of drive others across the organization. So they go, that's kind of a good idea. I think we should kind of adopt this thing corporately. But we don't really have a centralized data team in that kind of way. Yes, it is a bit of a single point of failure sometimes, but I'm sharing enough information, sharing enough data that if I were to be hit by the proverbial bus, someone can pick it up. In our team alone, we have Phil, who's one of our kind of mapping and data gurus. We've also got another one called Alex, who's also really good at these kind of bits and pieces. So there shouldn't be a single person who knows data in a department. There'll be a small team, but it's on a department level or a team level. And as Natasha says in the chat, that's why we upskill lots of our staff.
And further to that, like we don't have any corporate GIS support either. So GIS is managed on a department by department basis, which is utter chaos. And it has led to data sets getting duplicated sort of 4 or 5 times in different departments, and it is what we're trying to work on at the minute, is to unify GIS a bit throughout Plymouth, because it's Wild West at the minute.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say that's really useful comment, and it's quite useful to show how far you managed to come in that kind of context, because I think we're much the same. You know, we have no corporate GIS support. There is no corporate GIS team. There are people in different departments who tinker around with GIS, and obviously planning, GIS went in first in planning and is one of the major users. But of course, we're in the situation where base mapping is map info. Obviously Uniform doesn't use that anymore, so all our mapped data is kind of, certainly I'm in the policy team, we use map info. We don't have access now to the map data in Uniform because that's all shape files and we have no access to it. It's the breaking of those links. But I think the very positive thing you've shown is you've been able to drive it forward, which is what we all need to try and do. So it's been really useful. It does require somebody with the responsibility to do it, and I'm not sure, certainly in my own authority, we don't have a GIS information specialist post, and that's the problem.
You just need to take a walk out into the Wild West and go for it, Andrew. Cool. I'm going to move us on, but thank you so much for your comments and discussions. Great to hear it, and please feel free to keep using the chat and also Slack after this to meet up and catch up afterwards. Next up, we've got. Thank you so much, Phil. And
thank you.
Next up, we've got John. John, are you there still? Oh, he's ready. He's ready. Are you talking?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, you're
morning.
There you are. Got you.
Hi there. Can everybody see the shared screen I've tried to share?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Excellent. So today it's myself and Kelly, who is the lead planning manager, are going to do sort of a double act. Kelly's going to do a little short presentation about where we started and the intention, our ambitions, and then I'll go on to what we've managed to do. Okay.
Thanks, John. Yes, thanks. So yeah, I'm Kelly Harris. I'm the lead planning manager for South Staffordshire, which is basically the head of the planning team. So that covers everything from local plans and conservation, development management, enforcement, you name it. It's all in there on a day-to-day basis. I say I really wanted to come along today largely to support John through this presentation, but also in case there was any questions you may have for sort of wider beyond the sort of scope of the specifics of the project. Really interesting actually hearing from Plymouth, and then some of the questions then about some of the issues they've gone through, because it's very much similar to where we were at the beginning of our journey. So been really, really useful to be here today. I think just from a sort of perspective as to where we are, and sort of before John goes into the details of the project. So the planning team at South Staffs has been really on a bit of a reform agenda journey since about 2020 when I came into the post, looking at how we sort of strengthen and improve the team. It's been really good so far, touch wood, fingers crossed. You know, we've got a fully staffed team, everything's sort of going really nicely now, but we always knew that we had this sort of bit of an Achilles heel with our digital delivery. And I put my hand up completely honestly, I'm not the person with the skill set to understand, you know, how we get to where we need to get to, but we really did know early doors that actually, you know, our digital maturity was really quite low and didn't have the skill set necessarily to be able to sort of figure out how to get there, because I'm forever saying you only know what you know, you don't know what you don't know, and it's really hard to try and sort of get past that bit of a hurdle. But we did know that we wanted to as part of our continued sort of evolution program that we've been on. So obviously when this fund opened up in you know, a while ago, we jumped at it with both hands, because it was really the opportunity for us to kind of be able to go for the project and see it as a very much the building block to that journey we find ourselves on with our, what I refer to as our digital transformation agenda. So we needed the money, and then it facilitated us to be able to get somebody in, a man who can, John. So we created a post, which is our planning digital development officer, and you know, since we've been able to get that, you know, we've going from strength to strength. So really grateful to have John in the team now, and since he's taken up the role, we've just been on that journey, and it's really good to see the development that's happened. So I'm going to hand over to John to go through the specifics of it, but if there's any sort of questions about that sort of beyond in the sort of corporate world as to how we're doing this, more than happy to take those later.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, let's go through the slides. Can get them to work. Please work. There we go. So a little bit of information, bit of context about where South Staffordshire is. I went to the Newcastle Open Day a few months ago and talking to people, and nobody really knew where South Staffordshire was. So which was unsurprising given the size we actually are. So we are basically sandwiched between the West Midlands conurbation and Shropshire. The bottom half of the district actually is really quite narrow, but it's very, very long. So we reach from we've got Shropshire on the west, we've got Worcestershire to the south, we've got the conurbation to our east, and there's other parts of Staffordshire to the north. 407 kilometers. That was it. 440,000 hectares, mainly rural. We've not got a particularly large population. Mainly consists of people living within villages. There's a lot of villages of various different sizes. Got quite a lot of listed buildings for an area of our size, including 5 incredibly large stately homes, which are all under the Historic Parks and Gardens under English Heritage as well. So there's quite significant historical buildings. Got a lot of TPOs for an area, but when we say we've only got 224 TPOs, they cover whole parishes, some of them. So they are really large in terms of, and I'll come to this in a moment, in terms of when reviewing the TPOs, it's going to take us quite a while to get to the bottom of these, because they are so big. One TPO has almost 500 individual trees on it that are going to have to be looked at some point. Tom's face is a picture. We've got 19 conservation areas, including parts and sections of 3 canal conservation areas, Shropshire Union and the Staffordshire and Worcestershire being 2 very large ones. And we've got 80% of the greenbelt. We also have a zone of influence for the Cannock Chase Special Area Conservation in the north corner. So our developable area is actually quite small. And as you can see from the photographs, we've got Kimber Rocks, which is a National Trust, and it's where people go to. People live within the caves, within the rocks. Some fun facts: we are actually, as a council, in 2022, we were the UK Council of the Year, and the IS Transformation, Public Sector Transformation Awards, and then only last year, we were the predecessor to Sandwell for the West Midlands LPA of the Year. We didn't, unfortunately, go on to becoming like all-conquering champion of the country, but that was a big thing for the team. We are, in terms of famous, not really famous for very much because we are quite small. We have the HQ for Jaguar Land Rover, which has recently moved in at I-54. We were the home of the V Festival, which the northern leg of it until 2017. This year there was Camp Festival, took place at Western Hall, which was advertised as being in Shropshire. Unfortunately, it's the rest of the work for people who live in South Staffordshire is actually in Staffordshire. And then Meera Syed, the actress, was brought up in Essington, which is one of the areas one of the villages we've got, which is near the junction with the M6 and the M54, which actually she refers to within her autobiography as which I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it was quite a good read. And our most famous thing we are famous for is the Crooked House. There was a big thing, I don't know how many people have come across the Crooked House, but in the summer of 2023, it was all over the news that somebody had basically set fire to it and then come along to it and allegedly set fire to it, I must say, and then basically bulldozed it because they felt it to be unsafe. It's still going through police investigations as we speak. So that is the context. That's South Staffordshire. So in terms of when I arrived, we got the funding in 2024, and I arrived in late summer. And apart from the digital maturity assessment, we were unable. Nothing really moved on that. When I arrived, I found we had no corporate GIS system. There wasn't even a GIS system being used by the planners. There was nothing available to them to use. We had no definitive list of Article 4 directions. It varied between land charges, legal team, the planners all had different Article 4s. All of them in different states of being confirmed or not confirmed. There was no definitive list. We had inconsistent data formats and locations spread across spreadsheets, paper, folders, filing cabinets, some digital stuff there as well. Website only had generic information. We were actually starting to look at scanning in the TPO records, but that process is still ongoing as we speak. We have no digital pre-2015 digital records on our DMS. That's again, though it may be scanned in, it's in various different file servers and all sorts of things all spread around the building. And one of the big thing, and again, sounds like Tim had a similar problem, and again, coming to these show and tells, we find similar pushback from IT teams. It had the same issue. They don't really want to push forward. Yeah, now, present and now is a very good place to be, I think, not the future. Again, I had some negativity from some officers, managed to get them on side, which is really good now. And we also had that, people couldn't see what performance, or managers couldn't see what teams were doing, what performance they were doing. So there's all sorts of disconnects in terms of that. And we were, in 2022, became a land registry, land charges council. But as we found, going through the process at the moment, our data doesn't align with theirs. So that is a sort of a retrofitting process we're going through at the same time. In terms of the team, well, essentially it's me. I've done an awful lot of the work so far. I do have people I can call on, but we are a very busy team doing lots and lots of things. For example, we've just submitted our local plan to the planning inspectorate just to middle of last week, wasn't it? So everybody's really busy, but I can call on lots of people when I need help. Got the DM manager. The tech support team are very good in terms of data cleansing and helping with the website matters and things like that. Officers are very good at testing things. They like to break things, which is a very good way to make sure things work. Got the conservation officer and the tree officer also busy doing their sorts of stuff as well. And then the digital services team, who are very good at trying to fix things and finding hard to reach data that I need in order to do that. But since October, since the trip to Newcastle, I managed to, in terms of the data standards, went on the Article 4 treasure hunt, found all the information, lots of information all over the place in all sorts of states, but managed to locate, digitized, uploaded, and then spatially plotted. Managed to do the same with conservation area documents. We are an iDocs council, so trying to extract the shape files from the iDocs was interesting. We've also reviewed the zone set of the TPO data, managed to get that together, and have managed to submit those 5 data sets. just in time for Christmas. As it says there, 6 out of 9 data. I had to do a little thing there because the data.gov website seems to not be working properly at this moment in time. So I've done a manual fix for their website. Also managed to cross-reference as well in terms of the next stage with listed building curtilages. Cross-reference our records that we held on listed buildings with those of Historic England, and found 18 anomalies, either places that we didn't have and we didn't know about, or places where Historic England were using the wrong addresses that were possibly putting things into the wrong county or the wrong district. Because we're so narrow, Shropshire and Worcestershire seem to sort of have pressurizers and are crushing us from both sides, and it seems like at natural England, Historic England level as well, that they get us confused with them. Also, in order to be able to show off our shiny new data, managed to build using the QGIS, following the training we had the other week, sort of an internal GIS mapping system that we're currently testing in terms of constraints checking. You can see in the bottom right some extracts from what we've built so far in terms of the web version of the QGIS. Also, at the same time, I've started to help the local plan team try to plot their green belt on their actual GIS system that they've got. Because it's very, very rough and ready, and it's something we need to submit to the data team as well, because the version on data.gov.uk is also quite wrong at the same time. So killing two birds with one stone with that. Also at the same time, managed to create a DM SharePoint presence. We're going through a SharePoint migration of documents. So we've created a development management page with lots of useful information on, guidance notes, team events. It was inspired by an idea from Laura from Cambridge City Council, and we've taken that and run with it. It's got lots of metrics in terms of performance linked to the Power BI. There's a document data search that takes away the clunkiness of using the iDocs and the DMS search mechanisms, which we've managed to put in there, which works quite well. Officers liking that. Also created Power BI dashboards so that people can look, officers can check, and also managers can check what people's performance are doing. And that's something that has not been seen at this particular council before, but again, it's been liked. And again, in order to meet the last of the data standards to do with the TPO documents, we're going to have to procure a portal that actually takes that. We're in initial discussions of that, plus 106 monitoring and BNG monitoring systems at the same time. So we're doing all three at the same time to give our IT team a little headache, get it all done in one go, short for them. We have a digital transformation action plan, which we've created phase 1, which takes us up to hopefully the middle of next year. And then, phase 2 will be going on to things like automation and more automation, things like that. So what's next? Where do we go? Okay, for 2025 up to Easter, we're going to be looking at the data standards. So we're going to be plotting the listed building curtilages. We're still a little bit uncertain what the actual definitive definition is at this moment in time, in order to get some consistency. But I sense that lots of authorities are already submitting information, so we're probably just going to bite the bullet and go for it. Again, procuring a new online tree portal, as I suggested, and also we need to review the tree data, because following the lead as Tim and as Tim says, Bristol, we're just going, well, this is how it is. This is what's live. It might be an absolute pile of pants. However, we just want to put it there. So at least that way it's digital, it's in one place. We know what we've got to do. So we're going to then start the review of all the TPOs we've got, including we found as part of the project to find out where the TPOs are, that one of the motorway junctions that was built in the 1980s is covered by a TPO when actually went on site. It's just mainly tarmac. So we think that's one that's probably a bit out of date that needs to be reviewed. So that's the quality of the data we currently have. So there's going to be a district-wide review that's going to be commencing next year. And as I said, procuring some systems to be able to show off our shiny new data, as well as to help the officers with day-to-day work and monitoring. Also doing SharePoint migration, data cleansing. We're going to be reviewing how the iDocs products work and how they work together, what automation they've got, how can we make life easier for the officers, but also for the public at the same time. We're also doing going to be going to the dreaded switch from Unimap Web to Unimap Web from Unimap Desktop, which I don't think anybody particularly is looking forward to within our digital team. All the planners, from what I've heard. We need to make more planning registered documents visible online, further improvements to the website. And then what we're going to be looking at is expanding the project from DM to widen it to the wider planning team. There's lots of work going on within the policy section and enforcement as well. So yeah, we're going to get involved with that as well to make them digital. So in terms of improving both their customer usability as officers, but also as external parties as well. And that's it. Any questions? That was just a quick run through of where we've gone, what we've done, and yeah, a little bit about us. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John and Kelly. And it's great to have you on board, John. You've been working really hard. And thanks for sharing those interesting facts about South Staffordshire, which I had no idea about either. So that was great.
Not many people do.
Time maybe for one question. Phil, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just a quick one. You mentioned that your DM guys had no GIS system. Is that included in, like, are you including things like the IDOC spatial as not a GIS system there? Because I was just wondering, like, how you manage like constraints and things.
Well, we do have the spatial side of the uniform system. However, it wasn't easy to use. There'd been a great crested newt layer had been laid on, which obliterates all the layers. So people had just given up using it, and it had never been fixed. And the people within our IT section said, well, this is how it is. Suck it up and see, basically. So by building the GIS thing, actually it's taken away the pressure from the uniform side of things. There's a constraints checker that's partially set up within uniform. So that's part of the project, digital improvement project that I've got on my very long list to go through and basically unwind that and basically reconfigure it and put it back together again.
Sounds fun. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And of course, we've got the chat if you've got any more questions, and don't forget our Slack. You can reach everyone in our DPI Slack channel if you like to. But thanks again for sharing, and thank you everyone for presenting today. Really, really useful and great to see the progress that you're making. Just a last few things from us. I'm going to hand over to Paris.
Hi, thanks for those presentations. They were really, really interesting. So I'm glad I'm here just to listen to those. But from my side, for those who haven't met me, I've met a few of you. I'm Paris from the providers team. I'm a service designer, so really interested in getting the tools that you use to provide data right, and to get them to be as kind of user-friendly as possible. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Chairs. So we're a multidisciplinary team, and as I said, we help build those tools. We know that your focus is those data sets that have been spoken through today. Last call out for Bramfield land data, if you are responsible for that. It does need to be reviewed once a year, so we've been ringing bells on that for December, jingly Christmas bells. So if there's anybody that is responsible for that in your organisation, please feel free to share the link to the planning.data platform, and they can submit that now via our tools as well. And if we go to the next slide. So I think I just wanted to kind of continue on the thread of kind of iterative approach to providing data, really, and how the check tool within the service can really help you with that. So we've been hearing that some LPAs, understandably, I think I'd be the same, kind of wanting things to be perfect first, maybe waiting until that point before they check their data. But what we're kind of saying is please use it ahead of time, check what you already have. It'll really then help you to identify where exactly do I need to focus time and energy. Are there any particular fields that are really bad that I need to kind of focus a lot of attention on? Is there stuff that I thought I needed to do that actually is good and would be good enough to publish? So it helps you kind of have that iterative approach towards getting some data on the platform. And sorry, I'm just getting a pop-up in the corner. I thought it was this one. So yeah, please do use that tool to direct it. And I just wanted to kind of demystify what that looks like a little bit. So if we go on to the next slide, if you haven't already used it, this is kind of what what you would be presented with. So it'll let you know what the problems are. So for this case, 2 start dates must be a real date, entry date must be a real date. So in this occasion, they've maybe not quite got the date formatting right. We're working on those messages as well at the moment to make them clearer for you guys. But it will highlight to you within your data set in red, so it's nice and clear exactly where there's some challenges in the data that maybe need to be resolved. There's also a link at the bottom for data specs to help you kind of with that if you needed it, and then you can recheck once you've updated it. And if we go to the next slide, we talk about user research all the time, and there's some people in this call that have taken part, and we really, really do appreciate it. You've helped us move from a tool to a service this year. We've rapidly moved from that in May to now, so we couldn't do that without all of the feedback that we've had. And I just wanted to demystify again what that looks like. So here's so when I'm listening to user research, what I do is I have screenshots of all of the screens that you're using, and when you're talking me through that, I then add sticky notes of what you're saying, or bits that are challenging, or bits that you would improve. So for this isn't real. Everything stays confidential. So this is my made up version. Might be that somebody said, oh, I'm going to read what's in the red box first because I think that'd be the most important. I like that the red in the table highlights to me exactly where that is, or it could be more clear. The error message could be clearer there, and I just note all of that down. There's no right or wrongs, so I just wanted to kind of lift the lid a little bit on what it looks like, and show that it's not really a big scary thing at all. It's just us seeing how you interact with the interface, really. And that was it from me. A bit of a whistle stop tour, but yeah, please do use check and let us know if you want to do any user research.
Great, thank you, Paris.
No
We've
problem.
got a few more moments and another user research topic, and we've got Stanley here just to give you a reminder about something else to get involved in. Are you here, Stanley?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I wanted to take this moment to give you a quick heads up on a research initiative we'll be conducting in January. The goal of this research is to better understand your experience with the PMA. Specifically, we want to hear how the process works for you, what are the unique improvements or experience you would want to see on the DPMA. Are there areas the DPMA didn't cover? Did the process was the process helpful for you? Your input will be much valuable to help us redefine the DPMA in terms of improvements, what works and what doesn't work. This process will also help us reshape the whole the DPMA to be more user-friendly. Thank you, and I want to thank you also in advance for your participation. I'll be coming back in January to seek your feedback on this. And Merry Christmas.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stanley. Yeah, we'll send out some more information about that in the new year. Has anyone got any other further questions? Please feel free to raise your hand, pop it in the chat. We do have one more person that wants to do a quick intro that joined our team recently. Joseph, are you here?
I am indeed. Can you hear me, Jess?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joseph. I'm the new service designer on the team. I've been here a week or so, or a couple of weeks, so you probably haven't met me yet. I'm hoping to meet more of you in the new year. I was going to explain what service design is, but like everyone knows that, and we've already had Paris give a great introduction. So imagine what Paris is doing, but I'm not focused on the data tools and services so much as what's happening with the LPA engagement side. So I'm running a piece of work in the new year where we're looking at the way the LPA is engaged with the ODP program, what that process has looked like, ways to improve it, and how that's been from your perspective. So I've been mostly working with community managers so far, who've been absolute wealth of information about how everything's been working. But I'd be remiss not to talk to the LPAs directly. So I think in the new year, I'll be going through the community managers and reaching out to you guys to try and have some conversations about what your experiences look like as you've engaged with the program and the services. So hopefully you'll see a bit more of me in the new year, and hopefully that'll be a nice thing. So Plymouth, Phil, Tim, South Staff, John, Kelly, you guys are the sort of people that I definitely want to be speaking to. So if you see my name, please put your hand up. Otherwise, Merry Christmas and enjoy your holidays.
Thank you, Joseph. And that is all from us. We've got a few things coming up in the new year that we will post more about in January for you. The next show and tell will be the 16th of January. And a Merry Christmas from all of us. And we'll see you in 2025. Thanks again for coming. Speak to you all soon. Take care.
See everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye bye.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Cheers. Bye.